Here at our agency, we often have to psychoeducate family members as well as our clients about how addiction happens at the brain level. Can you explain to me your understanding of this process?
Sure. Well, I want to start off by explaining how a normal and healthy brain experiences pleasure. So, when we engage in pleasurable activities such as listening to our favorite music or eating our favorite foods, the brain releases these feel good chemicals such as dopamine. And these chemicals, they'll travel throughout the brain and they'll eventually attach to receiving cells. This cycle must happen in order for our brains and our bodies to experience pleasure. And any of the excess of these feel good chemicals either get stored away for later or are recycled within the body. Alcohol and drugs produce chemicals that mock the chemicals that are naturally found in our body. These chemicals, these chemicals produced by alcohol and drugs, though, they send a false message to the brain to release an overly large amount of these feel good chemicals. And instead of these chemicals being recycled or stored away for later, the excess chemicals will go ahead and they will continue attaching to these receiving cells. This creates a flooding of the reward system and ultimately an overstimulation of the brain. Since alcohol and drugs produces 2 to 10 times the amount of feel-good chemicals that natural pleasures would produce within our body, it creates an exaggerated sense of pleasure. And this exaggerated sense of pleasure ultimately leads the brain to have an intense desire to repeat these behaviors. And ultimately, that's how addiction happens at the brain level.